All right, welcome to round 3 of building this new learning environment for Flatiron students. So, picking up where we left off yesterday, what we're working on right now is, as a user, I want to see a list of standards for one mod. So, lists of standards are over here. You can navigate between them. And that's about where we got to. So a couple of things we still need to do to finish out the feature. Our definition of done is that it's styled, which, it's in pretty good shape now. It's deployed, which it's not. And it's tested. And we have some tests right now. Oops, let me get back. npm run, let's see, what was it? Test end-to-end CLI. And we got passing tests. Cool. So stuff we still need to do. We need to add persistence, and we need to refactor some code, and we need to deploy. Cool. So let's start by working on refactoring a little bit. So these tests, that's in pretty good shape. So let's close all this and just kind of start at the top. So we go to the app.view file. Thing that I'm thinking is like, all right, does this need to be split into components at all? And I kind of think yes. I think that header should probably be its own component. So I'm going to make a component touch components. We'll call this app header.view. And it'll have a template. Need to declare a script tag because it's going to take in props, and it's going to have a style area. So for the template, we can just take in all of this. Yeah, this is already scoped a lot better. So this needs a logo and a list of standards, okay? So from over here, I'm just going to copy all the stuff from the script tag. We're going to keep that. And so this is interesting. Since this component is not a view, I don't want to let it access the store directly. And this is like an architecture thing that I thoroughly disagree with how this is commonly done in React. So React will let you access a Redux store, for example, from fucking anywhere. And I think it's really sloppy. So what I'd much rather do is keep that out of this component and just take in the standards as a prop instead. So that's expecting an array. And then over here, we can take out any references to logo. We have, since the app is the actual view that's being loaded, then instead of that, we can say that the app header goes here and its standards are standard. and get rid of all of this. Let's say import the component. Import app header from source components app header. Cool. And if we did all that right, we should still have the same thing showing up. And we do. Cool. All right, now this top level component's looking a lot better. Now that this header is owned by this component, we can move that into here. And this needs the type stack, the scales, and the colors. So we can import those over here. Cool. All that looks pretty good. Do I still need all of those over here? This just needs scales at this point. Cool. And and body font. There we go. Okay, so still in business. And that looks a lot better than it did a second ago. All right, does any of this need to be refactored? Let's kind of drill into these styles a little bit. Any of these? I've got the H1 up there. Since that's not displaying, it actually doesn't need this font on it. Yeah, it doesn't change anything. Good. 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 All right, so this is a great example of something that should probably be extracted into the typography. So we have these. We probably also want one for like nav item font. And looks like we're using Roboto. But we can do things like take that margin and make that part of it. The size should be part of it. The color should probably be part of it. Yeah. So if we call that the nav item font, then over here we can just say include nav item font. Okay, beautiful. Then if I decide that like we want to change that, then there's only one place, and it's in that typography. Okay, this is looking pretty clean. All right, let's take a look back at app. Anything here that should probably be extracted out? No, that looks about right to me. So next place we want to look is index. And first thing that I'm inclined to do with this is this long bit of copy here and that mod 1 thing. Sort of feel like those should be state. They don't need to be right now. Well, actually, they kind of do. Yeah, we're intending on having a module. Oh, here's a good catch. So this is our model for a module. And we want to also have a description in there. Since that's where we're going with it, we should probably bring those out now. export default. So we can put them in views equivalent of state and say that the label is mod1 and the description is whatever the fuck that is. And then call that description and this label. And something broke. Oh, it's because data takes a function. There we go. And oops, description's not showing up. It's because it has capital D. There it is. Awesome. So next bit of refactoring, there are some styles we might be able to, I don't know, that's pretty clean. I do feel like this max width, that should probably be a variable and probably should be in scales. So I'm going to make one called max width. And what I end up going with, 25 ems. So now if I import scales, then max width can be max width, like that. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now, the name of this component right now is index. And that's the purpose that it's serving. You think about how else this might get used. It's really like a module overview-y kind of thing. So I sort of feel like we should change the name of it. I'm going to call this, yeah, so I don't want to call it module. So if I move views, index, and change it to views module.view. Cool. And I need to go into the router and change it there. I don't think that I actually named it anywhere else. Yeah, looks like we're still working. Cool. So, oh, just thought of another thing that we're going to need to do before this is done is get description copy. Okay. So next, app's okay, that's doing okay, that's doing okay. This module's doing okay. Next thing is standard. Okay, that's got defaults. That's a view, so views are allowed to access the store. That's pretty good. Let's take a look at the styles. It's another opportunity to reuse our max width. And these two things, though, those should probably get pulled out. For body font, I feel like the line height should probably be in there instead. That still works. And I feel like I'm always going to want to constrain paragraphs that way. So that probably means it should go in the reset. So I can take that and put it in here. And now the module doesn't need that one either. Kind of feel the same way about H2s. That maybe, just maybe, we do something like that. Now that's not going to compile because it doesn't know what those variables are. So we need to import typography and scales. Okay, good. And so now that one doesn't need that either. Beautiful. And that sort of makes sense because we're not actually doing anything all that custom in these yet. So we can get rid of those imports also. Beautiful. Next thing I'm thinking, this should probably come from state, not from hard-coded data. So let me make a computed property for let's say module. And module will try to get those out of store instead. So if I go over here, I've got those. So now I need this, and this has a label and a description. Cool. And now a module is going to be this.store.state.module. And this is going to be nothing. And this will be module.label, module.description. Cool. Working again. Works a little, breaks a little. Next thing. So anything in here that needs to get cleaned up. This is not my way, but I think this really does make that easier to read. Okay. All right, that's better. That's fine. So now, next step is instead of hard coding all this state into the client, we probably want to get that from a network instead. So I'm going to start with the test for this. And I could swear that this works, but who knows. I was reading a little bit earlier that Cypress is like not able to intercept fetch requests, which does not sound right to me. Let's give it a shot. So we start by firing up a server, and we say that, let's look up the docs. Cypress routes. There we go. So we want to make a route, get, we want to match URL for anything that includes let's start with standards. No, I'm gonna go with modules. And it's going to return response. And it needs to give us whatever's in the store. And I'm a big fan of top-level names, so we can say module, like that. What that should do is intercept a request and respond with that during the test. Okay, and then I'm also starting to feel like maybe these standards actually belong in the module. So what if I move these down like so? Yeah, you have a module that has standards. That seems about right. So now some things need to happen differently. For example, if I'm trying to find a specific standard, then I need to change the behavior on this so that it gets, so I can work with a list of all standards and get just one that matches. So I'll call this one standards. Takes in state and returns. What am I going to have to do? Go into modules. I'll make that plural now. Modules. And I want to go through each module, so state modules dot map. And for each module, I want to return that module's standards. Now what this is going to return is an array of arrays. I want it to all be one array. There's a special name for this. It's called a flat map. And there's a great utility that does that for us called Lodash. So we'll install Lodash. And we're going to pull in import flat map from Lodash FP. And so instead of doing this, we'll return flat map and flat map. See, needs this function, which is module module.standards, and I'm relatively certain Lodash get will give us that also. So if I do that, and that'll get turned around. Yeah, I think that's actually what I want. So I'll pull in get also. Oh no, I don't even need that. That's right, Lodash will let you just declare properties like this. It's awesome. Oh, bless you, Lodash. Ah, that's a thing of beauty. So that'll give me a list of standards. And now I don't want state out of this. I want the getters also. So I'll say vuex getter from getter. That was kind of a weird syntax for it. How do I call a getter from another getter? That's it. That's the second argument. So then this just becomes getters standards find. Okay, not bloody bad. So all that still works. And now, over in our test, we want to give it these standards too. Okay. And also, since over in app view, we can't get the state out of the standards out of state, now what we need to do is get a particular module and get its standards. So we're going to say this is state dot modules. Since we're only working with one right now, we can hard code that in and get its standards. Cool. How broken is the app? All right, that's still showing up. That's good. And over in the module view, store.state.module. Oop. Modules 0. There we go. All right, we're working again. Let's see. Next thing to refactor. Okay, instead of these things being hard-coded, we probably want to be able to fetch them. So, well, actually, I kind of want to see what the test will do now. Nope, that's not going to work. Not yet. They need to do these actions first. So I'm going to do an action called fetch module and UX actions. So it's going to take in take in the commit method. I think the second one is just any payload stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So we'll say, all right, if I give you an ID, will you fetch fetch the list of modules, and then do commit set modules, set module with the module that we get back. That's pretty good. And then up here, we need a mutation for set module. I believe that one takes in state. Yeah. State and the module in question. And we can say, kind of need two cases here. If the module already exists, then we want to update it. And if it doesn't exist, we want to add it. So we want to upsert it. Cool. So we'll say that this is state.modules. Let's do it like this. State.modules is state.modules Okay, so that's our add. I'll bet we can just do a test for the module ID. So if we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, and then we say like state dot modules dot find, module.id, call this new module, module ID equals new module.id. So if it finds one, then so if you find a module, then I want you to clobber whatever you currently have. So that's found module, new module. I'm going to call it old module. All right, so that'll overwrite whatever's there. Or oh shoot, or I need to do it that way. I say if old module, do it that way, else there's something I don't like about that, but I'm not going to worry too much about it for right now. All right, so that should update a module with something that comes back from the network. Cool, so next thing that needs to happen is this fetch call. I need to get this process dot, let's say that a template string. API URL slash modules slash whatever that ID is. Okay. So then that URL should come from process.env.viewApp API URL, and then we need to see, does that exist already? No. View CLI environment variables. Cool, that's what I thought. Doesn't by default. So we'll say touch.env dot development dot local. I'm going to say no, that's fine. I also need one for see, production. And I'll say view app API URL is, what does this serve on? 8080, perfect. HTTP localhost 3000. And then I'll also need one of those that's front end and ENB production. Cool. I'm just going to keep those the same for right now. And oh, actually, you know what? I don't need the production URL in here. Never mind. Neat. So, I do think I'm going to make that local though. To .env.development.local. Cool. So it should be able to read that in and make a fetch request. Sick. So now when I load up a module, I'm going to make a lifecycle hook for when this is mounted. This dot, I want to say it's store.dispatch. And then you say, what do I call that? Fetch module. Let's see. Vuex dispatch. Yep, store.dispatch. Perfect. So we do that. And then all that computed noise, that should just work. Good. Let's head back over here. Nothing's exploded. That's nice. It should be making that network request like now. Nope, that was a socket request. Okay. Now I kind of want to see if see how far we're getting here. Oop. $sign API URL. There we go. There it is. Perfect. So it's undefined. I'll bet I need to restart the server. Anytime you do anything with environment variables, pretty much always need to restart the server. There it is. Localhost 3000 modules 1. Sick. So the request is going out. Next step. We need to work on our backend a little bit. So I'm going to say that this is, we just have front end there. Beautiful. So we're going to make this backend folder, and this is going to be an npm package. So we'll call this one Hayk LMS backend 001. Yes. Mocha. None. Me. There we go. Awesome. So I have this package JSON file now. I'm going to install Express cores, probably some other stuff, but start there. And I'm going to install in development Mocha Chai Supertest. Cool. Then I'm going to make test folder, and I am going to make a test modules. Test modules. .js. Cool. Okay, so in this we're going to use Mocha, but we're also going to use a thing called Supertest, and Supertest is pretty dope. So we'll say describe modules, and we'll say describe, let's see, context, get, we'll say it retrieves a list of modules. And it's been a while since I've written Supertest before. So we want to bring in the app, and we'll say request app, and request comes from Supertest. And then we write these little assertions like expect the content type to have JSON somewhere in it. We expect a 200 response. And I know you can assert the body with these too. I think it's in that callback. Yeah, then. So we'll say, and then And since we're using promises, if we return that, that'll make sure that the test waits for it. So we can do something like bring in expect from chai. So we can say we expect the response. And what do we expect about the response? To have property, or let's see, to include property module. Oops, you need to say what kind of request it was too. Get, if I make a get request to modules 1, I expect the response to include property module and to include nested property. Now let's see. And do I want it to include property module and include nested property description and label and standards. Cool. And that should give us some confidence that this thing's working. So now, that's our test. Let's see what happens when we run it. Also need fix this test script. I want to use BDD. I want to use spec. I want it to be recursive. I want it to fail fast. And I want it to watch. And over here, I'll add a watch key. And it'll watch for changes on test and anything ending in JS changes. Perfect. And over here, let's see what happens. Oops, something went weird. Nope, there it is. There we go. That's what I was expecting. So it's looking for something called app. Can't find something called app. So we're going to say that it needs something called app.js. Now, what don't you like? Beautiful. App.address is not a function. So this means it isn't an express app. And if we go over to this, module.exports equals app, app is, well, let's see, express is require express, app is express invoked. All right. Still doesn't like that. Exports. All right, perfect. Now we got something. Expected content type matching JSON. Instead, we got text HTML. That's because it probably 404'd. So we can say app.get modules ID request response to response.json. That should, at a minimum, get rid of our thing. All right, and expected it to have property module. Oop. Oh, that's interesting. That's right. When you write super test things, I don't want response. I want response.body. Because you can also look at the headers and shit. All right, expect nothing to have property module. So we can say, cool. Here you go, there's your module. Cool, expected to have a nested property description. Cool, there you go. Expected to have a property name label. This is like hardcore test-driven development. Expected. Oh, maybe those don't reset. Like, might need to do that. Oh, you know what I can probably do? Label. Those might need to be an array, but I think that works in Chai. Cool. It's missing standards. Oh, I was expecting it to, yeah, if I do it that way, it's expecting it to equal that. Let's see, Chai multiple nested properties. This chainability thing is, I think, the issue that I just ran into. Yeah, that's not it. Okay, I'm going to go back to what I had, this other approach I was taking. Include nested property description. Nested property label. All right, how you like me now? Well, maybe I do need the we do have to do it like that. Label standards. All right, passing. Cool. So that's really all this needs to do. Still working backwards though. This doesn't really persist. So what we want, first of all, this Express app, we need something that runs it. to make an index.js file, and I'm going to see if I can just, like, it's hard to write one of these well, and so I always just go into old ones that I've written. You can too, it's all right. So I can copy all that. Neat. See if there's any other package that I need to install or anything. That's fine. Except I'm going to get rid of the single quotes. And fine. Perfect. So that's going to be my point of entry. App is in the same folder. That helps. And over here, I should probably set up a script for it. Start. I'm going to say nodemon index.js. And that also means that I need to install, well, we'll call that dev. Dev is nodemon.js, and start is node.js. So over here, let's npm install nodemon. And then over here, npm run dev is the command we'll use. And it should do that by default on 3000. So I'm kind of curious, if we go back to our app, what comes back from this now? Gets a 200 back. Sweet. And gets back our hard-coded thing. So now, what I'm hoping, so if we go back over here, we should be able to just give this a hard-coded response back. So I'm going to go back over to our front end. All that's in the store right now. And how about I just take all of that out and put it in here instead. Cool, no more hard-coded data. So over here on the front end, all hell breaks loose. That's fine. This test still working? This test is still working. I kind of want to pull up Postman. So one of the things that I can do with these now is verify something like that. It still works. Cool. So that gives me some confidence that what I'm getting back isn't crazy. Very nice. I'm going to give it an ID though. Okay, very nice. So let's make sure that we can get this to work on the front end. Okay, so some I'm going to need to clean up there. Also, while it's on my mind, I'm also going to need cores. Actually, do this the do this the clever way. App.use cores. Oops. Require cores. It's a little like verbose, but it's a pretty common pattern. And then over here, this is mad at me because in the standards file, store.state module 0. Where am I doing that at? So, and let's see, this just needs a good fallback. So instead of trying to hard code that, what if I get standard by ID, I do a get module by ID, and this will be state modules, find module, where the module ID equals the ID. Or give it back an empty object. All right. Okay, so that was get module by ID. That makes this one getters get module by ID 1. Let's see, that's still happening somewhere. Get module by ID. Oh, I see. This, yeah. So for this one, getters, get module by ID 1. All right, something's happening. Okay, all that came back. Now I kind of will take a look in the view inspector and take a look at my see, that happened. Okay, modules has one thing. Oh, interesting. Came back kind of hinky. So let's head over to the store. Okay, that looks good. Commit set module. So let's take a look over at the mutation. Oop, that's why. This should be new module. There we go, neat. So, all All right, we're getting some errors, but that's fine. We're getting the module okay. Oh, interesting. It doesn't want me to do that either. That's why. Okay, interesting. So we're going to debug that in a sec. Standard is undefined and 19 on store. Okay, I'm going to go back to the view inspector and see what I have in state right now. Good, good, good. Cool. I feel like that all works. Okay, mod is reading in from the server, and when I go to one of these, over in standard, I might just need to give that a default. Standard is undefined and standard. Get standard dot ID by ID. Okay. Oh, weird. It's got an array with undefined in it. That's not good. All right. So that's the next thing we're going to debug, but I'm going to take a break. And let's take a look at where we're at. So some of the next things we need to do, we go back over to our Trello card. Okay, persistence, we're pretty well refactored at this point, but we need to, we've started on the persistence, but we need to get this writing to a database, and I need the copy, and then we need to deploy it. Not too worried about the deployment, actually on either of these. Like it takes me like 3 tries to get something deployed with a Rails app, but it seems to work on the first try with Express most of the time. So I'm going to go do that, and then we'll come back.